Hey guys, what's going on? It's Russ. Today we're going to talk about how we did $100 million in high ticket coaching sales with one 30-minute presentation. So if you are a coach, consultant, expert, author, speaker, course creator, you're someone who needs clients and you need those clients now, pay very close attention because this video is going to have the power to transform your life and your business. So as always, every video on this channel, we're pulling back the curtain. We're showing you what we've learned from doing 9 figures in high ticket coaching sales. So I'm not saying you're gonna do that. Your odds of doing that are like 1 in a million. But if you wanna learn how to do this, you wanna learn from the best. So hit that like and subscribe button. You are in the right place. All right, let's dive in. Now, when I say that we did $100 million with one presentation, I'm not saying we had one presentation for 10 years or whatever, and that presentation never changed. That presentation did change and grow and evolve over time. We've tested 20-minute presentations, 30-minute presentations, 40-minute presentations, all different kinds of setups. It's evolved over the years. But what I want you to understand is that at any point in time, there is always one presentation, one masterclass that does all the heavy lifting of getting new clients in the door for us. So you don't need to be posting to Instagram 16 times a day. Somebody told me like Hormozy, and I don't know if this is true, posts 400 pieces of content every week. You don't need to do any of that stuff, especially if you're just trying to break through. You know, if you're stuck at 50K a month, you're stuck at 100K a month, you're trying to break through to higher levels. You don't need to do that stuff. What you need is you need one presentation that forms the backbone of your entire client attraction strategy. So first, what I'm going to do is just lay this out and show you where that presentation fits into sort of the overall game plan. And then we're going to go really deep into the structure of that presentation so I can show you what you need to be saying and in what order and how you should be expressing yourself so that that presentation can bring you the high ticket clients that you want. All right, so let's dive in. The basic strategy is that you're going to be running ads on social media, or you're going to be running organic posts, right? So you've got your organic stuff that you're posting and you've got your ads, but all of that stuff is going to be driving into one place. And that is this. There's one video. So this is our, let's say 30-minute presentation. We call this a masterclass. Everything is driving into this one presentation. Now, so this page is real simple. This is as simple as funnels possibly can get. You got one video here, it's about 30 minutes long. And then under that video, you've got a link to your calendar, a link to your application, and people can apply to book a call with you. Then you've got over here, you've got like your little thank you page with some more videos on it. And there's little objection handling videos here. Basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna get on a call with those people. Does that make sense? So people are clicking on your ads, they're going in there watching this 30-minute presentation, they're booking a phone call to talk to you, you're sending them some more content before that call happens on the call, and you're enrolling them straight into your high ticket offers. Now, what's cool about this process is that this takes people from clicking on the ad to actually becoming a client in about 24 to 48 hours. That's the whole sales sequence. So if people tell you that you got to warm people up for 5 months or 6 months, or you got to send them all this content, or you got to put them on your list and you got to finesse them and romance them and take them out to dinner or whatever before you make your high ticket offer, that's absolute nonsense. We've spent the last 10 years proving that you can take somebody from clicking on an ad to enrolling in an 8K, 10K, 15K program in about 24 hours with this kind of process. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people doing this model now. We started this model probably 10 years ago, and now it's become ubiquitous. Everyone in the world is copying it, and the reason they're copying it is because it freaking works. Why are so many people trying to use this model and failing, right? We see this way more often than not. Someone watches some of our YouTube videos, someone copies one of our copycats, and then they copy one of their copycats, and it's just a copy of a copy of a copy. They try to deploy this strategy, and then guess what? It doesn't work, right? So why doesn't it work? The reason it doesn't work is because they screw up this piece here. They screw up the video. This video has to be absolutely flawless. Think about it. You're taking people from browsing around on social media. They're on Instagram. They're doom scrolling. They're looking at pictures of kittens or God knows what. And they're clicking, they see your ad, they click your ad, and you got 20, 30 minutes of this video that's got to warm them up for a $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000 investment, that video better be pretty damn good. So what I want to do now is walk you through the structure of that video. So the main thing I want you to understand from this is just that it can be this simple, right? You need one page with one video on it. You need a place where they can book a call with you. You got a thank you page where you're going to show them some even more stuff before they get on the call with you. And at the end of the day, that's it. I mean, this is your whole funnel is 2 pages. So for those of you guys that hate the tech stuff, it doesn't get any simpler than this. I'm not telling you to do all these complicated upsells and downsells and cross sells and, sell someone this thing and then this other thing. So you have to spend, 5 hours in Go High Level or ClickFunnels setting this up. This is as simple as it gets. So let's talk about this video and what the heck needs to be in it and the structure of this video. So we're gonna go pretty deep on this because I really want you to be able to start applying this structure to everything that you do. And as I walk you through this video, what you're gonna see is there's a lot of just really good, powerful copywriting concepts in here that if you get your head around them and understand them, you can apply this not just to your 20, 30-minute presentations, but to every email you write, every ad you create, all those things. And what we do with our clients is we actually show them how to leverage AI and train AI to do this even faster and to do this even at a higher level. Because at the end of the day, it's just pattern recognition, right? There's certain principles that make a message boring or that make a message compelling. There's certain principles that make people want to reach out to you, that make them feel understood, that make them feel like you are the coach or the expert that they need to work with most. And you can plug those principles into an AI and get some really solid output. So if you're interested in working with us to get your messaging dialed in, to get your offers dialed in, click the link in the description of this video, book a call to talk to us, and we'll help you get that sorted out. Now, what I'm gonna do here going forward in this video is I'm gonna assume that you already have a $5,000 or $10,000 coaching program. If you don't, there's a ton of other videos in this channel. They're gonna talk about how to create one of those. But today we're not talking about what you're selling, we're talking about how to sell it. So that's the focus of today's video. All right, let's dive in and talk about what this presentation needs to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to hook in your audience with an outcome. At the end of the day, what people are buying from you is an outcome. They're not buying your time. They're not buying your wisdom or your knowledge or your expertise. They're not paying you for the fact that you went to Harvard or you got a bunch of certifications or you studied with some guru somewhere. At the end of the day, the only thing your audience wants and the only thing your audience cares about is what is the outcome that you can help them create in their lives. So the first thing that you need to do as a coach, as an expert, as an author, as a speaker, is decide exactly what that outcome is. Are you working with dyslexic kids to help them learn to read, like my client Becky? Are you saving people's marriages, like my client Meg? Are you working with professional women and helping them bring their soul to work so that they can get the promotions and pay raises that they deserve, like my client Mo? That's the first thing you got to do, is get really clear on that outcome. And so you open up your presentation with that outcome. In fact, that outcome should be the title of your presentation. Now, having a really cool and compelling outcome isn't enough. We want to pair that with what is called a curiosity hook. So what the heck is that? A curiosity hook is a little detail that creates cognitive dissonance in the mind of your audience. So they hear this amazing outcome, but then you're going to follow that outcome with this detail that seems so weird, so strange, so out of place that your audience can't help but go, wait a second, what? But it forces them to keep listening. Does that make sense? So we're doing that here in this video, how we built a $100 million coaching company with one 30-minute presentation. So you got the big outcome, $100 million coaching company, and then a curiosity hook with one 30-minute presentation. It makes you sit up and go, how the hell did they do that? I'll give you another example. Thinking back to the 2016 election, we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. There you go. You got the outcome. We're going to build a wall and the curiosity hook, and Mexico is going to pay for it. Now, regardless of how you feel about building the wall, it doesn't matter. What matters is that those two ideas really don't seem like they're going to go together. Wait a minute. He's going to build a wall. Okay, I get that. And Mexico's going to pay for it? How the hell is he going to do that? And it forces you to keep listening. Even if you think building a wall is the worst idea you've ever heard, even if you think Mexico paying for it is totally stupid, you still have to keep listening to resolve the cognitive dissonance that creates. Does that make sense? It's really important that you understand this because it's one of the most powerful principles in all of copywriting. Outcome plus curiosity hook. So you got that big, beautiful outcome, and you've got the curiosity hook that makes people continue to listen because it seems like it doesn't fit. So I'll give you a really boring, really simple example you've probably even seen. How to get washboard abs without spending even 1 minute in the gym, right? How to get washboard abs without giving up carbs. How to get washboard abs without giving up your favorite foods, right? It's that little twist on the outcome that makes it even more intriguing, right? So that's where you're gonna start. And that should be the title of your presentation, should be some variation of income or outcome plus curiosity hook. Got it? All right. The next piece, once we've hooked them in with that, we're gonna elaborate on the outcome. So we're gonna give them some more sub-outcomes. Here's what we're gonna cover today. And then you're gonna stack probably 5 or 6 additional outcomes that they're gonna get. So as you can see, the title of today's presentation is how to get washboard abs without spending even 1 second in the gym. That's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. Here's what we're gonna cover. And then you stack additional outcomes. I'm gonna show you the real reason why killing yourself at the gym every day is actually hurting and slowing down your fitness journey and what you can do instead to get in the best shape of your life faster than you ever thought possible. Okay. And you see how right there, I'm just stacking outcome, curiosity hook, outcome, curiosity hook. You're going to do that 3 or 4 times. Then you're going to get really clear on who this is for. So you're going to say, listen, let me just quickly tell you who this is for so you know you're in the right place. And then you're going to lay out exactly who this is for. Okay. So you're stacking your outcomes, you're laying out who it's for. And then we're going to do something that this honestly is Clients on Demand's specialty. We do this better than anyone else. We are going to describe their problems. And we're going to do this in a way that is rich and vivid. And we're usually going to do this in the form of a question. So I might say something like this. Now, before we get into all this other stuff, let me just quickly check in with you so I can see where you're at. Does this sound like you? And I'm going to ask them some questions that describe their problem in a vivid and powerful way. So let's say, for example, that this is a marriage offer. I might say something like this. Do you wake up every morning 12 inches away from someone who's supposed to be the love of your life, but you feel like there's miles and miles between you and that gap is just getting bigger every day? Do you wake up every morning and you walk past your wife's cell phone and you feel yourself reaching out to grab it, to go through some of her text messages, but you're terrified of what you would find out if you did? You see what I mean? We're giving a really rich, really vivid description of their problem, of how it feels every day to have that problem, of what they're thinking, of what they're feeling. And what that does, guys, is that creates massive authority for you because your audience will subconsciously begin to think, hey, you know what? This person understands my problems better than I do. And when we think that somebody understands our problems better than we do, we automatically assume that they know the answer. So really, there's 2 ways to build authority. Well, there's a few different ways to build authority, but the main way that we see people trying to build authority is to use what are called credibility indicators. So that's saying, hey, I went to Harvard, I went to Yale, I'm a PhD, I'm a neuroscientist, I have letters after my name, testimonials, case studies. Now, all those things are great if you have them, right? Like if you just graduated from Harvard and you just got your PhD and you're like, Russ, I just dropped 400 grand on getting this PhD. Are you telling me it's useless? No, I'm not saying that at all. Good for you. You got it done. What I am saying is that those credibility indicators appeal to the logical part of the brain. And that is not, I repeat, not the part of the brain that we're talking to when we are engaged in sales and in client attraction. The part of the brain that we're talking to is the back of the brain, crocodile brain, the caveman brain, the emotional brain. And so when you're saying, hey, I went to Harvard, the logical part of the brain may or may not think, oh, well, she went to Harvard, so she must know what she's talking about. It's a logical conclusion. It's a logical train of thought. But When I hear you describe my problems better than I can, it's going to the caveman part of the brain. It's automatic. It's like, oh my God, how do I fix this? So imagine this. Imagine you're walking down the street and imagine you've been having this really weird pain. And it's this weird, like weird pain in your arm. It starts in your shoulder and it zaps down to your wrist and then it goes back up to your shoulder. It's the weirdest thing you've ever felt. You have no idea what it is. You can't seem to figure it out. And you're walking down the street with some of your buddies and you're talking to your friends and you're like, hey, you know what, man? I got this like weird pain in my shoulder. And there's a homeless dude right there and he jumps up and he goes, oh my God, dude. Are you having that pain in your shoulder where it starts in your shoulder and it goes down to your wrist and it pops back up to your shoulder? The next words out of your mouth would be, yes, how do I fix it? And this isn't a doctor. This isn't somebody that's, some super educated person who's written books and who's got, a bunch of letters after their name. This is a homeless dude on the street. But if he described your problem with that level of accuracy, the next words out of your mouth would be, yes, how do I fix it? That's talking to the crocodile part of the brain. That's talking to the caveman part of the brain. And that is how we create this belief in our audience that we have this massive level of authority. And that's how we do it without any of those credibility indicators. Because the truth is, we do have clients that come and work with us and they don't have testimonials and they don't have case studies and they don't have certifications and they don't have letters after their name. They may be very good at what they do, but they don't have all this external evidence of that society would say, oh, well, this, A plus B plus C equals you're an expert, right? And so I still have a job to do. I still have to figure out how to get that person high ticket clients. And in order to do that, we have to establish their authority. And so the way that we establish the authority is that vivid description of the problem. Does that make sense? So I know I'm harping on this, but I'm harping on it because there's so many of you out there that are stuck in fear and paralysis, and you're not putting yourself out there because there's this little voice in your head that's telling you, well, how can I charge $5,000 for my work if nobody knows who I am? How can I charge $5,000 when, I don't know, Marie Forleo or something has a $2,000 program and she's been around for 20 years? How can I charge $5,000 when she's only charging $2,000? Oh my God, I better price my stuff a little bit cheaper than everybody else. I better play small. I better think small. And what I'm telling you is that if you can really master this discipline of describing your audience's problems better than they can, they will automatically assume that you know the answer. And if you don't have testimonials and you don't have case studies and you don't have a track record and you don't have any of these things, they are not going to care. Because we're living in a time where people don't feel heard. We're living at a time where people don't feel understood. And when you're dealing with some major health problem or a major marriage problem or a major business problem or any of these problems that you guys solve, you can feel very lonely. You can feel like no one gets you. You can feel like no one understands. And so when you come out in your presentation and you vividly describe and demonstrate that you have a deep, deep, deep understanding of that problem, they are immediately going to feel like you're speaking directly to them and you are going to be the one that they need to work with. Make sense? So we describe their problems better than they can. Now we're going to get even crazier and we're going to do something really powerful. We are going to reframe those problems as just being symptoms of a bigger problem that they're not even thinking about. So the best example of this is from that DVD back in the day, The Secret. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but basically this was the DVD that put the law of attraction on the map for a lot of people. So people have been writing about the law of attraction for like 100 years. And the best books about it, by the way, are the ones that were written in like 1910, 1920. Like 100 years ago, people really had a deep understanding of this stuff. But what The Secret did, and what The Secret did so well, is they did this exact tactic where they took all the problems you think you have and they reframed them as being symptoms of a bigger problem that you're not even thinking about. So they came out and they said, listen, are you having problems creating the money that you want? Are you having financial problems? Are your relationships suffering? Is your health suffering? Well, you know what? None of those things are the real problem. The real problem is that you're not using this ancient, powerful law of attraction. And once you start using that, all these other problems are going to fix themselves. But if you don't start using that, anything you do to make more money or fix your relationships or fix your health is just going to be a Band-Aid. So let's talk about how to leverage this principle of the law of attraction. So this is something that we really have to go deep with our clients, is we got to get them clear on that outcome they provide. We got to get them really clear on all the different ways that their clients and their audience are experiencing these problems. But then we take those problems and reframe them as just being symptoms of a bigger problem that they're not even thinking about. Now, this is an art, but when you do it, it's incredibly powerful because it wipes all of your competitors out of your audience's mind. So I don't just mean your competitors like the other coaches, the other people in the space. I'm talking about all the other things that your audience could do to solve this problem. So let's say again that you've got like a marriage offer, right? I like to use that example because it's just so simple, it's cut and dried, we all understand it. If you've got this marriage offer and you've got clients or people that might be working with you, right? We're trying to get them to choose you. We're trying to get them to choose your solution. But there's many other things they could do. They could go to marriage counseling. They could read a book. They could just not worry about it. They could pray about it and hope it gets better. There's 50 other things they could do. So if you can reframe those problems as just being a symptom of a bigger problem that only you're talking about, and they accept that premise, now they can't go to marriage counseling. They can't read that marriage book. It's just like if I read The Secret or watch The Secret and I believe in this law of attraction thing. Now it's like if I was going to go talk to my financial advisor, that doesn't make any sense because I understand that if I'm not using the law of attraction, the money stuff doesn't matter. If I was going to go to marriage counseling, now I can't because again, it's about the law of attraction. That's the real problem. So I better focus on learning that. Does that make sense? So you're going to reframe their problems as just being symptoms of a bigger problem that they're not even thinking about. All right. Now, by that point, the audience should be very, very, very hooked in to everything that you're saying. If they've come with you on this journey, now they're really like, tell me how to fix this problem. What do I do? And so at that point, we haven't even introduced ourselves yet because we want to talk about the audience's problems. We don't want to talk about who we are. Right? So this and only this point is where you would go into like an about me section. So this is where you're just going to very quickly rattle off, hey, by the way, if you don't know who I am, my name is Russ Ruffino. I'm the founder of a company called Clients on Demand. We specialize in helping coaches, consultants, experts, authors, and speakers turn their expertise into high-ticket coaching programs that they can sell for $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 or more. We've worked with over 6,000 clients. We've done hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And today I'm excited to share with you a little bit about how we did it. So then once that's done, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to talk about the discovery. We're not going to spend a ton of time here, but what you're going to do is you're just going to very, very briefly tell the story of how you discovered these ideas and these principles. And look, guys, I can tell you right now, people go way deep into the sales story thing. I remember I was on a webinar with Brendan Burchard, like when I was first starting out. And Brendan's an awesome guy, but I'm just gonna be honest about my reaction to this. Is he used to tell this story about like, I think it was like how him and his friend rented a car and, they were in Colombia or someplace or Costa Rica, maybe, I forget it was. And, they got in this huge car accident and there was blood on the windshield. And he saw the moonlight reflecting in the blood on the windshield. And he thought to himself, I haven't done anything good with my life. I need to become a coach or something like that. And he's telling this whole elaborate story. And I think if I remember, he spent like 5 or 10 minutes telling the story. And the whole time I'm listening to the story, I'm thinking to myself, that's great, but what the hell does this have to do with me? Right? So I'm not a big believer in telling some massive, drawn out sales story. I think what we should be spending our time on is talking about the client, not talking about ourselves, right? So when I'm talking about telling the discovery story here, what I mean is you're very, very briefly going to talk about how you came across these ideas. And if you do this right, you want to tie that into what's called the rushing wave. Now, what's the rushing wave? The rushing wave is right now there is social technological change that's happening. AI is coming out. We're probably heading into a recession. A lot of people think there's stuff going on in real estate where interest rates are through the roof. What I'm saying is that you want to anchor your big ideas into the zeitgeist of what's going on right now. Here's the new discovery that makes this possible. Here's the new opportunity that makes this possible. So you just want to ground what you're saying in social or technological change. You want to ground it in that rushing wave of progress so that your audience gets the idea that, oh man, all I got to do is grab my surfboard, jump on this wave and ride this wave and I can get where I want to go. So that story can be really, really, really simple. Another way to do it is just to say, hey, look, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've seen people succeed. I've seen people fail. And over time, I realized there were 5 things that the super successful people were doing that the people who struggled were not doing. And I'm going to walk you through all 5 of those right now. I mean, it can literally be that simple, but you just want to tell a little bit about an origin story of how these ideas that you're about to share with them came to be. Now, as far as the content goes, you can structure the content any way you want. What we really try to do is we try to break it up into what are called 5 shifts or 5 content blocks. It doesn't have to be 5, it can be 3. But the main thing, the main mistake that people make is when they get into their core content, they try to teach. And it just turns into this like dry lecture. We're not there to teach. What we're there to do is shift their beliefs about what is possible. Now in this video, I'm going a little deeper into teaching than I probably ever would on one of my master classes, but it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to do here is shift your beliefs about what's possible, that you really can have one 20, 30-minute presentation if you execute it well that can beautifully set up that $5,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 coaching sale, okay? So there's 5 shifts. You don't want to teach. What you want to do is you want to shift their beliefs. So right now, there are things that they need to believe if they want to work with you. So again, let's just say that you're a marriage coach. What do they have to believe to really believe that their marriage can be saved? Well, first of all, they need to believe that it is savable. So your first shift might be something like understand, this is possible. And you're going to lay out the case for why their marriage can be saved. Right? And then maybe in the second shift, you're going to show them, the real reason that their marriage is struggling. Like, why are they having these problems? And you're going to begin to reframe those beliefs. In the third shift, what we usually like to do is we like to do some kind of secret weapon. And that's where you're going to introduce your system for solving this problem. And the most effective way to do that is to do what's called an old way versus the new way. So the old way versus the new way is where you're going to lay out, hey, here's the conventional way of solving this problem, right? Here's the way that, the conventional wisdom says you should fix your marriage. The conventional wisdom says go to marriage counseling, set up date nights, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where you get to explain why those things don't work. So again, this goes even deeper into sort of that thing of creating your own economy, where you're going to really just tear down and destroy all the alternatives, all the things that they could be doing to fix this problem. And you're going to explain why those things don't work. And this is always possible, guys, because the one thing I want you to understand is that the conventional wisdom is always wrong. Let me say that again. The conventional wisdom is always wrong. If you're in a field where most people don't get in shape, well, then the conventional wisdom about getting in shape must be wrong. If you're in a field where people are trying to grow their business and most of them fail, the conventional wisdom about how to grow a business is wrong. So part of our job with our clients is to figure out what do they believe that everybody else thinks is crazy? And what does everybody else believe that they think is crazy? And what are these ideas, these new, fresh ideas they can bring into the marketplace to help people get results that are better than what people have been getting up until this point? Does that make sense? So you're going to lay out the old way. Here's the old way of fixing this problem. Here's why that old way is dumb. So then if that doesn't work, what does work? I'll show you. And then you lay out your system. Now, it's very important that when you lay out your system, you're going to give them the 30,000 foot view. So you're not going to go into all the little nitty gritty details of your system because that's really just going to overwhelm them. What you're going to do is give them a really high level overview. So at Clients on Demand, we say, look, the old way of attracting clients is to do launches. The old way of attracting clients is to do low ticket stuff. And then I talk about why those things are stupid because they really are stupid. And if you want to know why they're stupid, watch some of the other videos on this channel. We won't get into it right now. But basically I'm saying, hey, here's why low ticket is stupid. Here's why launches are stupid. Here's why trying to post all this content, organic content 10 times a day, and then crossing your fingers and hoping the clients show up. Here's why all those things are stupid. So if that doesn't work, then what does work? And you're going to give the simplest possible version of your solution. And the way that I do it is I say add, webinar, call, new client. That's it. And then I'm going to walk them through why this is so much better than the old way and why it doesn't run into any of the problems and pitfalls that the old way runs into. Does that make sense? So then we go into the fourth shift, and the fourth shift is usually thinking past the sale. So when they come to your webinar or your masterclass, they are going to come there for that big outcome that we talked about. But now we want to dangle another outcome in front of them that's even more important than the outcome that they originally came there with. So let's say this video or webinar was like how we built a $100 million coaching company with one 30-minute presentation. What I would do in the fourth shift is I would say, hey, you know what? So now you know the principles, you know the strategy, you know that this is the new way of bringing clients in the door so that you could scale your business as fast and as far as you want it to go. But you know what? That's not enough, is it? Because it's not enough to make a ton of money. We also want to have freedom in our lives. And we also want to make that impact that we were born to make. So now let me show you how this system is going to help you create that freedom and make that impact that you were born to make. You see what I mean? So they got the main outcome that they came there for, but now we're going to show them there's other outcomes that are like so big and so cool and so important that they can't even get their head around that right now because they're so focused on this thing. And what that does is that gets them thinking past the sale, right? They're not thinking about whether or not they can achieve that initial outcome. They're thinking about once they achieve it, what's the next step? And that's what we do in that fourth shift. And then the fifth shift is just an invitation to come and invest in mentoring and invest to coming to work with you. And so when you give that invitation, you're going to be really clear about who this is for. You're going to be really clear about why they need to book a call with you. And you're going to tell them where to go. You're going to give them that CTA. Now you can do and by the way, guys, this is also going to be driving people into an application because I don't want you getting on the phone with people that are unqualified. That wastes your time. But if you have a good, solid, detailed application, that's going to protect your time so that you can make sure that you're only spending time talking to people that are the right fit for what you've got. Understand? That is the structure. And if you do this right, you can get all of this done. I mean, I've checked all these boxes. I've gone through this structure in 20 minutes. I've gone through it in 30 minutes. I've gone through it in 40 minutes. And you really just have to calibrate the length of it. But if someone has sat there and listened to this kind of presentation that's that powerful, if they've sat there and listened to it, even for, I would say 20 to 25 minutes, and they're booking a call with you, these are people that you should be able to enroll on a one-call close. And by the way, that one-call close is not any arm-twisting, Wolf of Wall Street BS. It is a simple, clear, consultative conversation that leaves them feeling good and leaves you feeling good and beautifully sets up that future coaching relationship. We don't have time to get into sales training right now, but I will just say most of the sales training that's done today, it's built around twisting people's arms, boxing them in, limiting their choices, trying to force them to do something that may or may not be in their best interests. That's not the way we do it. We get our clients really clear on the problem they're facing and we invite them to do something about it. And basically that's it. So that way, when they choose to do something about it, they choose to fix this problem, now that sets up the coaching relationship because they made that choice of their own free will. And we didn't twist their arm. We didn't bully them. We didn't browbeat them. They're choosing to fix this problem. So they're coming into our program for the right reasons. And that sets up that coaching relationship beautifully. And that's why Clients on Demand, after like 12 years, we still have like 5-star reviews on Trustpilot, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, because our clients didn't feel like we twisted their arms to get them in the program. Make sense? This is the system. This is the way that you do this. So if you want to apply this to your business, and the devil's in the details, we have to customize all of this for you. It's not about information. It's about transformation. It's what's the outcome that you provide? What's the curiosity hook that's going to work for your business? What's the problems that your audience is facing? How can we reframe those problems as just being symptoms of a bigger problem they're not even thinking about? And then how can we tell that story in a compelling way that makes them want to work with you? What are the 5 shifts that are going to shift those beliefs? What are those beliefs that we need to shift? These are all things that we need to figure out for your offer. And that's why we give our clients so much handholding and so much attention in our programs, because that's what it takes to help you win. Make sense? So if you need some help figuring out this stuff, right? If you have a high ticket offer, great. We'll show you how to sell more of it. If you don't have a high ticket offer, great. We'll help you build one and then we'll help you sell it. Click the link in the description of this video, book a call to talk to us because we'd love to talk to you about how we can help you turn your wisdom, knowledge, and expertise into a program that you can price at $5,000 to $10,000 or more, and then put all the marketing and everything else in place to sell that consistently so that you can enjoy the income and the freedom and the impact that you were born to make. All right, I'm Russ Ruffino. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Bye.